Welcome to my greenhouse. I built this a couple of years ago and I've been having so much fun with it. I've been posting stories over on Instagram for a while now and it's time to make a YouTube video. I did not have any building experience when I decided to do this project, and I wanted to show you all of the steps that I went through and all of the materials that I used in case you are thinking of building one too. This greenhouse is 8 feet by 12 feet, and it's about 7.5 feet tall in the center. It's commonly referred to as a cattle panel greenhouse. My first step was to build these side walls, which are 12 feet long. I used 3 1x6 boards and screwed them into 4x4 posts. There are 4 posts on each wall. I left a 1-inch gap between each of the 3 boards for extra airflow and ventilation in the summer. And the top board is about 1 inch higher than the posts to create a ledge for the cattle panels to sit on. Once I had my 2 side walls, I connected them using an 8-foot 2x4. The 2x4s butt up against the corner post, and I attached them with metal brackets. My greenhouse sits directly on the ground and does not have a foundation. To anchor it to the ground, I attached rebar to the side walls, and I pounded the rebar about 10 to 12 inches into the ground. If your greenhouse will be in an open area that gets very windy, you will want to take some extra steps to secure it to the ground. You'll want to consider building it on a foundation, adding windbreaks such as fencing or hedges, and using a greenhouse tie-down kit. I live in the city on a small lot, and my greenhouse is surrounded by windbreaks. There's a garage right beside it, and either fencing or my house on the other sides. My next step was to build the door frames. I used 2x4s and I have one on each end. Once the door frames were on, I pre-built the rectangular frames you see here. On the bottom, I attached 1x6s to the corner posts and to the door frames, and then set those rectangular frames on top of that. Trigger clamps and a level really helped during this step. For the overhead beam, I set a 2x4x12 on the door frames using steel rafter ties. Next, I attached the 3 cattle panels. I started with the middle one and set it on 2 of the 4x4s. It arches over top of the overhead beam. The outer 2 panels overlap the middle one by a few inches, and the outer edges rest on the end wall frames. They are attached to the 4x4s with fencing staples. I used pipe strapping to reinforce the cattle panels attachment to the side walls. Where the cattle panels overlapped, I used zip ties to attach them to each other. And next is where it got exciting for me. I added hinges and hung the doors and added a handle. I also added a hook and eye on the outside of the door to keep it latched. Before adding the plastic, I covered the ends of the cattle panels with foam pipe insulation to cover any sharp edges. And finally, the plastic. I concentrated on making the front walls as smooth and nice looking as possible, folding and rolling the extra plastic around the corner and tucking it under the trim that I attached in the next step. It was a bit like wrapping a giant, awkward gift. The plastic extends a couple of feet past the bottom and under these pots, and the plastic on the doors is a separate piece so that I can remove it in the summer. The trim is the last step, but it's an important one. I added 1x2 strips over top of the plastic onto the frames and the sides. Without this, strong winds would rip the plastic from the staples and leave it to blow in the wind. Here are a few more notes. I did use greenhouse plastic, which is made with additives that provide UV protection. Regular plastic will break down in about a year. The plastic is attached to the frame with a staple gun. For power tools, I only used two to build this, a circular saw and a power drill. I got much of the lumber cut at the hardware store. And the floor is cedar mulch, and I love it. I'm in zone 6B, and it does hold up to snow. This can be built for around $400 to $700, depending on what materials you use and what you already have. I hope this shows that the project is doable and how you might go about it. Check out my other videos for more details on the shade covering, type of plastic, type of lumber, controlling the temperature, why I love the cedar mulch, and much more. And you can find a whole lot more detail on my website, www.theeverydaygreenhouse.com.
As you might have guessed, I don't have any video footage from when I built the greenhouse. I never expected to make videos, put it online. That would be awesome if I had actual videos, but instead I've pulled together clips of what it looks like now and pictures that I took during the process. I've written a very detailed account on my website of all of the steps that I went through, and many people have built their own greenhouse based on those. I also offer plans on my website if you want even more instructions, and many people have purchased those and built their own greenhouse. I think this style of greenhouse is perfect for people who don't have building skills, that was me, and people who might be attempting this project on their own. So I had a couple of people help me lift things, lend me tools. All of the actual building I did on my own, so it's very doable. Comment down below if you have any questions, and give me a like and follow if you want to see more.